Hello, everybody. Welcome in to a podcast or some live streaming show. I'm Trevor Lane, joined by Keith Smith. If you know, you know.
I got a lot of texts about that this
resist.
morning.
Come
Several
on, Wendy,
texts.
throw us a bone.
Yeah, come on. NBA front office show.
That's
it
right.
was clear as day where that clip of Jake LaRavia and Austin Reeves came from. I don't know if I've had a chance to tell you. So I had never met Austin Reeves
Really?
in
Okay.
person. So I met him at Summer League at Sports Business Classroom. Aaron and Reg came to do a talk, and Austin was with them because apparently he Uber drives them around as well.
Yeah, he does. It's an off-season thing for him.
Yeah, that's it, because he needs a bigger contract, which I did give Aaron a hard time about. But anyway, they so he came in, and like I went up when they were done, and I spoke to him, and he said that then he's like, oh man, you have to deal with Trevor all the time. And then he was very nice about, said very complimentary about you and all the things you've done going out to his camp and all that stuff. And then we got laughing about the whole thing with Jake LaRavia. Yeah. And it was funny because one of the students was kind of like standing off to the side, and I was like, I have to interrupt. Like you really had no idea. And I was like, we knew someone was driving.
Obviously. Yeah.
But that was it. Like we had no idea who it was. And so we all had a pretty good laugh about that. So that was fun.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah. That was an all-time great front office show moment, I think there. Yeah. But what I love though was in the from that ESPN clip that I was referencing there at the beginning of the show. There were so many people in the comments because I got linked to that almost immediately. People were talking about it. I think you maybe the first one text me, but I had a bunch of people text me about it. And there were so many people in the comments going, that's the front office show. That was I saw it on Lakers Nation or whatever that were firing off there and supporting us. So we certainly appreciated that. But
yes, we do.
Yes, indeed. All right. We've got a number of things to get into on today's show. I guess let's start here. I think this is kind of an underrated signing. Josh Okogie winds up signing with the Houston Rockets. Not that he's like, oh my gosh, game changer. But when I look at what he means for Houston in terms of the ability to bracket Kevin Durant essentially at all times with strong defensive pieces so that he can focus on the offensive side of the ball, doesn't have to do a lot of heavy lifting defensively. Again, not expecting Okogie to get out there and play like 25 minutes a night or anything. But I think it's a solid, especially for the veteran minimum pickup for the Houston Rockets that really fits in with their team identity.
Yeah, we just wish at this point that Josh Okogie shot it better, because if he did, he wouldn't be signing with teams for the minimum. And
Charlotte would have picked up that contract. They wouldn't have waived him on that.
Yeah, they would not have waived him. Yes, I completely agree. But if you look at the Rockets roster as kind of structured right now, Jae'Sean Tate is much more of a forward defender at this point. Like he's a small but rugged guy who defends bigger than his position, even though him and Okogie are probably roughly the same height. But Okogie is a good backcourt defender, and clearly the best defensive player on the roster is Amen Thompson. But like you said, you just throw more defenders on the floor if you need to, and this gives them just one more guy they can go to within this group. So I think this is a good pickup. It's hard to have a bad pickup for the minimum, to be honest, right? Because you can just waive the guy if you need to. This still one more open roster spot for Houston. They do have Cam Matthews in there on a Exhibit 10 for training camp. Should show. Yeah, there he is, all the way down at.
No, would they have room below the first apron after
they think they have one more spot
because they're 3.5.
Does that factor in Okogie? Our guy is on vacation.
I don't think Okogie's included in that.
Let's see. It is not. So you are correct. So so they're too tight now to that number. So so they won't be able to fill that spot unless they do something else.
Sure.
Here. So and just with Cam Matthews, if you can kind of scroll down just a little bit more on the salary sheet here. He shows a 0 because guys who are on Exhibit 10 contracts, they actually don't count against the salary cap or the luxury tax unless they make the roster out of camp. That was a probably the most one of the. It happens every year, like one or two guys might make it. I think the most famous example was Dwight Howard. Actually, he was one of the
Yeah.
first true vet guys to sign one of these. These almost always go to players who are either rookies or they have maybe 1 or 2 years of service. But Dwight Howard signed an exhibit. I think he did it. He did the true training camp deal because he wasn't obviously going to the G League. But he signed one of those and played his way off it. So, but until they actually make the roster out of camp, they count as zero. And then if you don't waive them that like Saturday before the season starts, so they can clear waivers in time, then they start accruing a per day cap hit with this. Why I'm bringing that up is just in case people see it, they're like, well, how'd they even fit a Koji in if they have this guy? That's in part why. But also, the Rockets will not accrue those per day cap hits because they can't afford that underneath the first apron. They just don't have enough room. So we're other than a couple two-way signings, we're probably about done for Houston with this pretty impressive roster makeover while not really losing a lot of core guys.
And you know what? I do think Houston's had a really strong summer. And by the way, let me just throw this out there. For the social media crowd out there, we could talk about a team signing a player and not immediately have to jump all over it if it's not, oh my God, this team got Giannis or something like that, right? Like everything. Oh, hey, that's a nice signing for the Rockets. Turns it up. He'll never play. Doesn't matter. All this kind of like, no, he's actually a good. Exactly. Like these kind of moves, especially in today's NBA, Keith, I think we need to shift our thinking a little bit more because the depth pieces matter now more perhaps than ever. And these signings do matter, and they shouldn't all just get brushed aside as well. This isn't a top line starter at the minimum, so therefore it doesn't matter. No, these are the kind of signings that can very much matter. Hell, if Josh Okogie could play in a number of games in January and he plays 15 minutes a night and he's able to get a couple of steals or something like that and take some of the pressure off one of the other guys, that can make a difference for a team like the Houston Rockets. So I think it's important that we acknowledge these signings and not just be dismissive of them.
Yeah, and look at Houston clearly, right? No real, not that they don't have young guys who are still going to get better, because that's not what I mean at all. Because you've got Thompson and Shepard and Eason and even Jabari Smith, even though he's already locked in his extension. Those guys are still very young and still improving. But look at those vet men guys there towards the bottom half under Tari Eason. Jayshawn Tate, Aaron Holiday, Jeff Green. Now you're going to add a Koji to that. That is a team to me that says we're not doing the project thing. We are stacking up to go for this.
Yep.
We're going to make a run. And if one of our guys has to miss time, we're going to make sure we have a vet who we can plug in there and can play minutes. And that's on top of like the guys who made a little bit more money, like Dorian Finney-Smith and Clint Capella. So I think this Rockets team has done a really nice job rounding out their roster. And again, did not dip very far into their core guys. They still have Şengün. They still have Smith. They still have Easton. I wrote about it today on my Western Conference notes. So if anybody's looking for like, I need NBA stuff, like, it's gone dry. I had a full notes, all 30 teams split East and West and some general notes from all the front office people, coaches, scouts that I talked to in Las Vegas, because I was there for 8 days. All about every team. And one of the things that I got from the Rockets folks, they are super duper high on Reed Shepard.
Yeah, he's going to have to play a bigger role for them this year.
Yeah, and they're ready to plug him in to the rotation. So I think you're going to see him play a big role. And it was funny, the interesting call out, Peyton Pritchard was the guy they went to, where Ime Udoka didn't trust Peyton Pritchard and was like, I don't know about playing this guy. And then eventually Pritchard kind of earned the trust of the coaching staff there, and they got those guys in there and off they went. So I am super excited for Reed Shepard. I think as disappointing maybe as his rookie year was for some, I think we're going to see him have a big second season in the NBA.
Absolutely excited to see what he can do next year. All right, a feel-good story here. Damian Lillard says it was time to come home to the Blazers. The more I read about this, the more we hear about this, the more happy I am for Damian Lillard. And I was happy when it first happened. I went, okay, this makes sense that he's going to get to finish his career there. But the more stuff about, being near his kids and his family and all the different things, the more of a feel-good story this becomes.
Yeah, I am really excited for Dame, just on a personal level, like you said, he's home. He's going to be around his family. He's going to get to do all his rehab around his family, a place where he's very comfortable. But how excited like the Blazers folks were too to have him come back. Anything that had gone on between him and the organization, now clearly water under the bridge. They're like, we're done. That's over with. We've all said our piece. And I thought it was interesting when he said he and Joe Cronin spoke way before any of this. I think it was either last season or maybe even the season before. And he's like, and we were like, hey, we both kind of said our piece at the time, did what we had to do, and off we went. This is another good example too, where I'm seeing a lot of people just kill the team, for it. They're like, why would you do this? You already have Scoot Henderson and Drew Holiday. Well, here's the thing. None of that on-court stuff matters at all for this year, because Dame's not going to play. Sure. They pretty much have. When I say that, maybe he makes an appearance at the end of the season. Maybe it's like,
you don't want to completely dismiss. I wouldn't bank on that happening.
Exactly, and I think they're planning on him missing the entire year. But you're going to get another year, and Scoot Henderson's going to have him and Drew Holiday there, and Shaden Sharp too.
Mm-hmm.
What could you ask for? Maybe two better mentors in the league? Probably not, right? To help you through stuff and to help them figure things out. They've also were pretty clear, I think, in recent days of they have no intention of moving Drew Holiday either. They're gonna hang on to him. I wouldn't bet on that being like Drew Holiday retires as a Trailblazer, but they're trying to be good. They think that they have the makings of a pretty good team, and let's see where it goes. But the Dame Lillard part, I just love it. Like this is one of those things where let's throw the cap sheet out the window. I don't really care about any of that stuff. This is a cool story, and I'm really glad it's playing out this way.
When you've got a guy who's already getting paid by another team, typically the benefit is you're getting that guy for a minimum, or you're getting that guy for a very, very small amount. And so using a full MLE on him essentially is maybe a bit more than you would have expected,
sure,
but they're below the first apron. It's not like this is going to hamstring some other moves. It's not like there was some big time free agent that they just missed out on because of him. And ultimately, $14 million under the cap. Like it's not going to change things too much. Again, I don't really care that much about the no trade clause, because the idea here is for him to come back and stay and retire as a Blazer. And the human side of it, I think, overwhelms all of the other stuff that would be fairly minor quibbles given the situation.
Yeah, and if you're a Blazers fan, you break out your 0 jersey, right? And you're right back in it there with Dame, and they're gonna be all fired up. And to your point about the MLE, I don't really care at all about that part, because there was no one else they were gonna spend this on.
Yeah.
You can argue, well, they could have held it for a trade in season, but again, if you needed $14 million, we've got a whole bunch of guys who make in that range that you could trade anyway. You trade Robert Williams, you trade Matisse Thybulle, you could do a bunch of different stuff. Oh, you had the meats, huh?
I did.
The Arby's Cup.
Yep.
Let's go.
Hashtag not a sponsor, but should be.
Yeah, you should be Arby's. Come on.
My wife was stressed out at work, and she's like, let's go get Arby's for lunch today. I'm like, all right.
People rip on Arby's, and I like Arby's. Man. Like, Arby's is it's good.
They make a good chicken sandwich. That's what I got. Some curly fries, and off we go.
Their mozzarella sticks are top tier too.
I have not tried those.
Mozzarella sticks.
I'm gonna have to give those a look.
Yeah, you should give it a chance.
All right.
Trev and Keith get fat. For me.
Go just in time for vacation. Yes.
Yeah, right. Speaking of, we'll have a little vacation update here before we finish the show. But I think this is I think this is great for Portland. I think this is really good. Again, I mentioned our guy from Spot Track who does a lot of the page updating stuff is on vacation. So the guy who's not here, we can go to the next story. We both clicked it.
Blake Wesley on the wheel.
Blake Wesley to the Blazers. So when he took that buyout with the Washington Wizards, that means he's got something else lined up somewhere. This is a standard deal by all accounts. So he's going to be on Portland. That about finishes out Portland's roster as well. They are going to be, not right under, but Well, I guess, yeah, just about under the second apron, but they've now got a full roster as well with 15 players on standard contracts. So Blake Wesley will slot in there as a backup guard. They're kind of taking a look. It is kind of interesting. We just talked about Damian Lillard being in the mix. They have Drew Holiday as well with Scoot Henderson, who's the holdover starter. But they kind of don't have a lot behind Henderson, and Holiday's kind of a point guard, right? He's kind of more of a combo guard at this point. So, yeah, why not take a look at Blake Wesley and see maybe he can put it together. He hadn't really found his rhythm in San Antonio much, and Washington with 9,000 players approximately on their roster on rookie deals didn't have room for him. So hopefully Blake Wesley figures it out. Still pretty good size for a point guard. We'll see. I know teams really liked him a lot pre-draft, so let's see if he can put it together and make something happen here for Portland.
Absolutely. Worth a shot there. All right. Some other quick news for us to get into. Richard Jefferson going to be staying with ESPN. I think he does a pretty nice job as an analyst for them, and we'll be staying on, be doing some final stuff and things like that for them. So, this is, I think, welcome news, especially as we're seeing, like Amazon loading up with analysts and things like that and everything. But Richard Jefferson sticking with ESPN here.
Yeah, and the story I read said that was the one that was pursuing him was Amazon, but he'll stay and he's going to continue to be a part of the top broadcast team. There may be some other shuffles there. There's talks of maybe Tim Legler joining the top broadcast team with Mike Breen and Richard Jefferson. Doris Burke would then presumably move back to the second team or something like that. I don't really know how that'll work. Maybe they keep it as it was. A lot of people have a lot of feelings about all this stuff. My whole thing is give me good quality analysis and then entertain me, especially if the game gets a little sideways. And I think Richard Jefferson's a pretty funny guy, so I have no problem with having him on there. And clearly he has really good insight into, a more recent player, I guess is the best way to put that.
Sure.
I think, with that. Now, that said, if they bump Tim Legler up there, I'm in 100%. Tim Legler's great. I love when they put him on TV and he just breaks down like film. With people. Like I remember the old NFL films thing, or it was a NFL matchup show. Ron Jaworski hosted it, and like the guy plays. This is where I'm just I think enough older than you.
My NFL fandom though is more in the last decade or so, because I didn't have a team. I didn't have a team in LA for the longest time.
True. Yeah. Good point. So they so they had this show. It used to be on Sunday mornings before countdown. So it would be on at 8, then Sports Center would run, and then you'd go into Sunday NFL countdown. And this show was Ron Jaworski, and he'd bring people in, they diagram plays and break it down and be like, this is what he saw, right? And Jaws, as a former QB, was like, I could tell you, what your read is here and blah, 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 blah. Legler does that with basketball stuff. I'd watch hours of that. The problem is, not enough people would, so you're not going to get that as a TV show. But anytime we get him breaking down film and stuff, I love it. He did a thing about Cam Johnson's cutting and how everybody's super focused on him as a shooter and all that. And then he talked about as a cutter, he's just going to live on layups because that Nuggets team has so many good passers too. So it was really good stuff. I can't recommend it enough if anybody gets a chance. But Richard Jefferson stays with ESPN. I started asking some people in Las Vegas, how's it going to work with Amazon? On League Pass nights, are you still going to get the games? And people are like, yeah, we're still working out all those details, what it'll look like with that. Because again, I just don't want to have to open up, 3 services at once to kind of hop in and out of games. But I'm sure it'll all work out and be fine.
Yeah. I'm sure that they'll get it all sorted before the ball tips. We don't know yet. The schedule's not out yet, but
October 21st is going to be opening night. I think
it's typically about when we already know for sure it's the 21st. Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be that Tuesday. Because a lot of the contract guarantees are based around that date.
There you go.
So feels pretty solid. That'll be that Tuesday, the 21st. So we'll see the Thunder get their rings.
We'll see the Lakers play the Mavs.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Well, here's the only challenge, right?
Well, they got to have something for Christmas too. I know.
Yeah, and they try to usually do like East Coast, West Coast, but the Thunder are like right smack in the middle. So you could play it early, put them in the early time slot. You could play them late, put them in the late time slot. So my
They've
guess
done it
is
in the past though, where they've gone double West teams
yeah,
for opening night.
yeah. So I feel pretty confident the Lakers will feature in there somewhere.
Have to imagine.
Lakers Clippers wouldn't be bad, right? That'd be
Nope.
pretty fun to open up on opening night.
We've
But that
just,
seems like
we've just seen it 5 billion times.
yeah. And do you want to fire that, cannon like right away, right? Like you might want to be like,
I think if Anthony Davis is healthy, if Luka's healthy, LeBron's healthy, all these guys are healthy, they're gonna want that immediately, right? Like they're just because there's always the chance that if you wait till later on in the season,
sure.
you might like what if you get an injury, and obviously Kyrie will be out, but you get an injury depleted Lakers side and an injury depleted Mavs side, and then it's not as big of a deal. I think they'll want to.
One of my favorite side plots of all this stuff is, do you remember opening night used to have like there was always like one or two like random local games too that were in there?
Oh
it wasn't just those two,
and it wouldn't be nationally relevant. Yeah.
Like 5 years in a row, it was like the Magic's home opener was on the same night as opening night. So like I rarely ended up seeing opening night because I was usually at the Magic home opener, and that was like 5 years in a row. It was like Magic Hornets or Magic Hawks, and it was like, all right, here we are in Orlando for this opening night. One night I know for certain it was Magic Heat because that was when you have those vivid memories that just won't go away. We're sitting right on the baseline and watch Goran Dragic do the Nash dribble where he goes underneath the rim, and then usually for him he'd pop out and shoot that little fall away that he had. He did the Nash dribble. Jonathan Isaac picked him up in his rookie game, his debut game, and Dragic went to go to his fadeaway, and as he pivoted to shoot it, Isaac was just there blocking out the sky. And that was when I was like, Jonathan Isaac like unfurled his arms like a pterodactyl. And like Goran Dragic was like, how is he here? Like he's not supposed to be here in my space. And they ended up forcing a turnover and went the other way. So that's just stuck in my head. I can't tell you who won the game or anything like that, but I remember that specific play.
One of those moments. Moments.
No doubt.
Okay, let's close things out here with a quick look at the cap and tax situations around the NBA right now. Let me find what I did with that page. There it is. I lost it in the 5 billion tabs that I've got open.
Guys, this is a very late July show.
There it is. There it is. There we go. So here's what we're looking at here.
Take the little banner off now too, that people know, just so it's not blocking it.
Sure. And we can even do.
Yeah. So we just wanted to give a little picture of where teams are at in the NBA. There's one team with cap space. That's the Brooklyn Nets. And they're still sitting on a pretty big chunk of cap space too. They should have, let me tell you, because I updated their cap sheet this morning. The Nets still have about $28 million in cap space. Now, some of that is going to go to Daron Sharp and Zaire Williams. So even if we kind of factor those guys in at their reported number, they should still have like 15 or so million in cap space at least. So, but those guys are holding off on signing because those deals are done. They're just letting Brooklyn maximize a little bit. Then from there, we have two teams, as you can see if you're watching along on YouTube, or if you want to go to Spot Track. This is just under Team Rankings cap and tax tracker. Apron tracker. The Cavs way over the second apron, and then the Celtics barely over the second apron, and they will not finish there. They 100% will get out from underneath that second apron. And then you get Dallas, a little tight to it. One interesting note on Dallas. They have agreed to a deal with Dante Exum. They can't actually re-sign him yet. They have to make another roster move because they don't have enough room under the first apron to bring in Exum on a new contract. So that's just something to keep a little bit of an eye on. Then you got the Knicks, who have a couple open roster spots still. They're about $3.7 million under the second apron. Both of those teams hard capped at the second apron. Do me a favor, just because I think it's funny. Scroll down a little bit. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. We're almost there. There it is. The Brooklyn Nets, also hard capped at the second apron while being $92.6 million under.
I have a feeling they're not too worried about
I don't
that.
think they're very worried about that at all.
No.
But it just goes to show no matter what, if you trigger the things that trigger a hard cap, you do get hard capped at that apron. So while the Mavs and the Knicks, they have to watch it, the Nets are more than okay in their position, $92.6 million under the second apron. And the reason they're hard capped, they sent cash in the 3-team trade with Boston and the Hawks to satisfy the touch rules because they hadn't actually touched Boston in that trade. So they sent I think the minimum amount of cash over to the Celtics, which is like $150K or something like that. So that satisfied the touch rules. So they are hard capped, but obviously not a problem for them.
There it is.
Yeah. And then the other teams, just how you read this is like, it should be, I think, pretty obvious that there's a little lock. That means they're hard capped at that. There's a whole bunch of teams. I think we are at 17 teams are hard capped at the first apron. If you scroll back up towards the top, you'll see the teams that it's more of a concern for. Your Lakers being one of them.
Yep, they're right there at it.
Yep, so they're right there at it. Now this does not factor in the Marcus Smart signing,
correct?
Because that has not gone official yet. But once it does, the Lakers will be like right there. But you've also got Orlando. Orlando actually has one open standard roster spot. They can't fill it right now. The Clippers are right there as well. This does factor in the Bradley Beal and Chris Paul signings because those both have gone official. Denver avoided a hard cap because they ended up taking Jonas Valanciunas into the trade exception that they created from the Porter trade. So that avoided a hard cap. Yeah, really smart by them. Houston, we already talked about. They're going to sign a Koji. They're going to be tight to that line. Miami, I think, is okay because I think their roster is pretty full. New Orleans roster, definitely full. But it just gives you a sense of where all these teams are at with this. And then obviously the teams that are at the top of the list there, I don't know that a lot of people would have guessed that the Toronto Raptors are above the first apron already. But if you look at the Raptors cap sheet, there's a lot of pretty big salaries on that one there because you've got guys like Barnes extension now kicks in, and then you have Ingram and Barrett and Quickly. Those are guys that are all right around 30 million or pushing 40 million. Then you got Pirtle, almost 20 million, and then a couple of the other high-ish draft picks, I guess is the best way to put that. So really expensive. They're kind of the one to me on this list that really kind of sticks out because Boston's probably not going to be all that good this year, but we know why they're there, right? Sure. They're working their way out of it. Cleveland, title contender. Dallas, if Kyrie's back and Cooper Flagg's good enough, could be in the mix to win the West, I think. Probably not going to beat OKC, but it is what it is.
But they're good if they get healthy.
But they're good. New York, obviously, title contender. Minnesota, title contender. Orlando moving up. Clippers, Denver, Houston, all really good teams. It's kind of it's of these teams up here near the top. It's kind of Toronto and New Orleans where it's a little like, you're did you fall in the wrong pond here? Like what happened? Like who
let these guys in?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, who brought this guy? So we'll see. I mean, maybe the Raptors will end up surprising. I think they could be a playoff team in the East for sure, but that's pretty expensive. I wouldn't be surprised if we see another move or two come from the Raptors just to rebalance the payroll a little bit. But again, they're able to go over the first apron because not hard capped. They haven't done anything to trigger any kind of hard cap or anything like that. Same with Minnesota. Minnesota back over the first apron after completing their re-signings. But again, didn't do anything to trigger a hard cap. Crucially for the Timberwolves, and this is in that intel piece that I dropped today with all the notes, they were very clear they have no real intention of going back over the second apron. But within that, the person I spoke to in their front office, if the right move is there, they're not afraid of the second apron. They'll do it. It's not really the money part that they're worried about. It's more the restrictions on the stuff. And then one last team I want to shout out, or two, I'm sorry. So scroll down a little bit. We're just kind of blocking them just a bit. Okay, they're right there next to each other, 15 and 16. OKC, they're fine this year. They are perfectly fine because the Holmgren and Williams extensions don't kick in till next year. Do you want to know one of my favorite stats? And I'm probably going to repeat it about a million times.
Hmm.
It's not really a stat. I guess it's just a fact. Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams will make more money next year than SGA.
Wow.
Yeah, just a matter of timing, right, of when the contracts were signed, but that's kind of crazy, right? And then the one right below them, look at those Phoenix Suns. The wave and stretch of Bradley Beal got them all the way out of the aprons there. So they're in really good shape now moving forward as far as this season goes.
Right.
It's going to be a little bit rough, I think, to look for the next 5 years and see that Beal money on the books, but kind of is what it is. There's not a whole lot you can do about that. But they are also, as it stands currently, they're a little bit under the luxury tax. Now, they have a couple more roster spots to fill, and if they do so, that without another move, they may end up back over the tax. But the Suns are living in a little bit of a different world than where they were, and that freed up a bunch of flexibility for them. At least now they can aggregate guys and trades without worrying all that sort of stuff. So just a little interesting. We, obviously a little bit lighter of a news day. We figured we'd get in a little bit of cap and tax and all this other stuff here going on to close it out.
No, always good to go over that stuff. We know you've got a vacation plan.
Yeah.
Here, so shows may be a little bit light for the next week or so, but I'll certainly jump on as needed when we've got stuff going on around the NBA. But Keith, enjoy your vacation.
Thank you. I will have my laptop with me. So if there is I don't know, LeBron or Giannis gets traded, we'll find time and jump on the mics and figure it out. But I'm not going to bring everything with me because quite frankly, I just don't feel like lugging it all around. It gets to be a bit much kind of carrying all that stuff around here. With that, Kyle Filipowski won
Summer League
MVP. So
there we go.
Congrats.
Good way to close things out.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's going to be fun. If anybody, guys, we're going to be in New Orleans for a couple of days and then in the Dallas Fort Worth area. If you see, you prove your thing. Free hugs still stand if you want one. So, that offer is that's a lifetime offer.
There it is.
From that. But yeah, it was. I can tell you, I am so looking forward to vacation. It's been a long run here over this last couple of weeks, but I've said it before. I think I even said it on yesterday's show. I'm so filled with gratitude and joy that this is what I get to do for a living. I've met with so many of these students. We had 140 of them in our class, plus a bunch of people that just popped in and were checking things out and all that. And then some of the executives brought their kids and we got to talk to them and stuff. So many people want to do what we do. And I am forever thankful that we get to do this. And this is our job. Like it's one of those things where every once in a while I keep waiting for the alarm clock to go up and wake me up and I got to go clock in again for work. And it hasn't happened yet. So let's keep things going. But yeah, and it's the support of everybody here, right?
Yes.
That watches the show and all the things that everybody does. So thank you guys. And come back refreshed from vacation. Hopefully. a lot of time in the car, but it'll be fun. I don't mind road trips because I actually it's not that I zone out and don't pay attention, but you just get the music going. You're feeling pretty good in that.
You just cruise
when you start them out. So it's we'll see on the back end when we've all had enough of each other and ready to get home. But I'm excited for that. I don't get to see my my family as much as I really want to, so I'm really excited to see them. But yeah, if anything big happens, we'll jump back on and get you guys a show. And I know you'll be doing what you do.
That's right,
every day. So.
That's right. And then when Keith gets back from his Griswold family vacation, we'll be right back here. But we appreciate all of you here.
I always start season previews, off-season recap stuff.
Right.
Like,
let's go.
Yeah, it'll be time. So yeah, it's gonna be exciting.
All right, everybody. Thank you again. Till next time. See ya and stay safe.